Hello, and welcome back to Season 4 of the Fresh Finds Podcast, the show about discovering new music with good people. I'm Ryan, and this episode I'm joined by James of the Philadelphia-based power pop band Scoopski. How are you doing, dude?
I am fantastic, Ryan. I just had salad works for dinner, and I'm now here in my very cold basement, and we're having a conversation, so I'm ready to get into it.
All right, perfect. It's this has been one that we've been talking for a little while, but we've not really made anything happen until now. So this should be a good time. Do you want to take a minute and introduce yourself and talk about the history of the band, any background, anything like that?
Sure, yeah. So my name's Jim. I play guitar and sing in this band Scoopski. This started in, I'm gonna go back to summer 2019. So
Okay.
my wife and I had just moved out of an apartment in Northeast Philly and bought our own house. So I had actually been on kind of a hiatus from music for like a good 5 years or so, from like writing or playing anything. Before that, I was, writing songs, playing in bands, but kind of on like a 5-year break. And a big part of the reason for that was in our apartment, I couldn't really just kind of play loud because we had a bunch of neighbors, right underneath of us. And,
You
it
don't
didn't
want to get
really,
noise complaints and all that. Yeah, no, I get you.
yeah, and it didn't really work out too well. But we bought our own house, and one afternoon I just came down the basement, I plugged my guitar in, and I started playing, and ever since that afternoon I haven't been able to stop. And it's just the songs have just started flowing out. I kind of for a while I had thought I think music is behind me almost in a weird way, but it came roaring back with a vengeance. Like I almost thought hey, that was like my early 20s or whatever. But in my late 20s I rediscovered it, and I think I love being a part of music more than ever in my life before now. But yeah, 2019, I want to say it goes back to the first recordings date back to then. The beginning, it was kind of a solo project, but my wife was kind of behind the scenes. She played piano on some songs on the first album, not much vocals, but she was in a couple songs. Co-song wrote a few songs as well. Gradually, she started getting more and more involved because the two of us actually met each other through being in a band back in the day.
Really?
We were in an indie pop band together. Yeah. So that's how we met. We both joined a band together. She was a keyboard player. I was just singing in that band. And, it was, took a little while, but eventually we realized we liked each other as more than just bandmates. So we started dating. And so music's kind of always been a bond we had. We're always able to talk about is this note sharp or flat? What key do you like this song in? Like nerdy stuff. And that's always been really cool to be able to
getting into
talk
the
about
weeds
that
of the theory and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And honestly, she kind of taught me a lot of theory too. I didn't know much theory before her. I just kind of knew what I liked to sound like and all that. But she kind of more or less taught me theory too. So I owe her a lot for that. But yeah, anyways, we both kind of got, bit by songwriting bugs again in, I mean, talking about bugs in 2020, but it was pretty much in 2020 we got bit by that bug. And we wrote tons of songs. And, eventually she was getting more and more involved in the process with more vocals and all. So I was like, I want to show people this isn't just a solo project. And eventually she agreed and hopped on the pictures and all that. And then, I want to say, we built, I don't want to say we had a following or anything, but we, kind of just picked up some little fans here and there around corners of the internet. We had a song that got kind of took off on TikTok for a second. I don't want to say took off, but it had a little success. It was called Mermaid Girl. It had a little moment, yeah. There was an influencer on TikTok.
The internet's
she did
all about
mermaid
moments.
videos. It is, yes, especially now. I mean, it's more so than ever about moments. But there was a mermaid influencer who did a video using our song, and we picked up some little bit of steam there. You pick up a little bit of steam here, blah blah blah. Just get to know people. So we had a little bit of a niche little fan base for a bit, and then in 2022 there was a band from Chicago who was planning on coming to Philly. They were called Affiliates and the Affiliates, and
incredible band name.
I know, isn't it? It's so clever. I love that. It's great. So yeah, he actually knew of us from Twitter. He was just kind of, in some of the Twitter circles and all. And he asked, would you guys want to open for us when we come to Philly? And it was never even a thought of this to be a live thing. It was originally just intended to be like a little songwriting project. But after he asked that, I was like, like what can we make this happen? For a bit, it was not because our son had just been born at that time, like 2 months prior to that. So we didn't really have like the means for us to both perform live at first. So I threw together a little set, like a little solo set to a backing track and played at the show. And then like, I think after that, I just kind of got hit by not just the music bug, but the live bug as well. And I just really wanted to get back into, playing live shows and all that. So eventually
there's something about the energy of like playing a live show where like it almost feels like, I don't know, at least to me anyway, like every time I've played live, it's like you rehearse and you're like, there's maybe issues here and there that like you need to work on or whatever. And then ultimately you get on the stage and that like rush of adrenaline to playing like to an audience is the last thing that you need to get everything to like really mesh and feel right.
Yeah, there's just something that's not, you can't replicate about it. It's just kind of magical in a way. And as soon as I got back into it and like started, meeting people in the local scene. I mean, it was cool. I started meeting people who I had known from Instagram, like just going back out to shows again. It was really awesome. So I realized how much I had missed that from like being in bands back in the day. And, there was actually a couple people I knew who were like Twitter and Instagram friends who were at that first show I played. And they actually like on their own, like accord asked me, would you want us to like play for you if you got a band together? And I was like, oh, that's really cool. That was Mark Schuster and Jack Vincent, who played bass and guitar in Scoopski right now, respectively. And then, things went on. My wife eventually joined the fray. Me and her played to backing tracks for a few shows. And then we got the band going about a year and a half ago. So, we really picked up steam on the live front that way. While the recordings were still, I mean, that's a whole separate story. The recordings were all done. Like we do everything at home here. I just, spend massive amounts of time on obsessively mixing and all that. And,
I get that for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. It's, I still have never been able to get anything to sound exactly the way I want it to sound, but, I try to get close and, it's kind of brings us to where we are now, I'd say, where we just put an album out.
Yeah, and I mean, at a certain point, like, if you keep producing your own stuff, even if it doesn't necessarily sound how you envision it sounding, at the end of the day, it starts to sound like you, and you kind of get your own, like, sonic footprint in a way. So, like, if you just, keep doing that, then that keeps getting honed and, like, starts to sound better and better. Again, even if it doesn't sound exactly how you envision it in your brain.
Right. Yeah, and I think that might be something that we, like, tapped into a bit. Because, like, there's, some people will say, like, we have a sound to us. And, like, that's cool to hear when people say stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I've definitely considered like, outsourcing to a mixer. It might happen in the future, like possibly next year, just because the time commitment and all that has gotten like, pretty crazy and stuff. But I'm pretty happy with how our album sounds overall. Yeah.
For what it's worth, I do think that the new album sounds incredible. It sounds really good.
Thank you. Oh, that's awesome. Glad to hear that.
So that's been out for what, around a month now at this point? Yeah, almost exactly a month as of recording this, because it was released on November 15th. It is now December 13th, so it's been out for almost a month now. How has the reception been on the new album so far?
It's been great. A lot of people saying it's, our best collection of songs, because that's kind of what it is. It's a collection of songs. We started the recording process on these back. Honestly, it was right around the time I started doing the live shows. It was like, May, June of 2022. So they go back pretty far, 2.5 years or so. But yeah, overall, people seem to be pretty happy with it. The new songs are being received really well. Yeah, I mean, it's something I said on Twitter the other day, but like I'm kind of in a weird headspace right now where it's like promotion has gotten like kind of tedious to me in a weird way. But it's I feel like it's finding the audience with the people who it's meant to find. Like, but I'm not like, I'm probably not being as pushy as I used to be in the past with promo, but I'm kind of at a
Okay,
point in my
yeah.
life where I'm okay with that. Yeah, yeah.
No, I definitely get that as well. Like there's a point where there's a grind to making music, and then there's a grind in and of itself, especially now in the days of social media and TikTok and Instagram Reels and things like that, where like it used to be that you could just like post a clip of something, or you could just post a band promo photo on Instagram or everything. But everything is moving to video now, which takes so much more time and effort to like produce something that is going to grab people's attention. So I don't blame you at
Yeah.
all for like kind of, getting burnt out on that almost in a way, because like it is a big commitment to continue to make like these little short form clips that you have to have a hook that makes people want to watch, but at the same time you can't go too long or else people lose interest, and like there's a balancing act there that's really hard to like walk.
Yeah, for sure. And like I see a lot of artists are really good at it. I've never been super great at it. Like a lot of times I'll just take like clips from like a live gig we played and try to put like a little snippet about the song in there and what it's about. But yeah, it's just been weird. Like I kind of like this, it took so long to finish this album, like the mixing and all that, that like I feel like when I was done with it, I was just done with it, kind of. Like I know that's horrible to say. I'm really, because like we're really proud of it. Like we have physical copies. We're handing them out to like a million people in real life and stuff. In real life, that sounds silly, but
Yeah.
friends and acquaintances.
Yeah,
We're just
I get you
giving
though.
everybody copies. Yeah, and yeah, we're really proud of it. But it's just I feel like my promo game hasn't been as on point with it. But I feel like I said, I feel like I'm kind of okay with that.
Well, it's also interesting because like making a piece of music, like there's so much that goes into it from from the writing, the recording process. If you're also mixing it, like you put so much time into this, and like after a little while, it almost starts to sound like you can't make anything objective of it because you've been listening to it for so long, and like you get to the point where you almost like start to hate it a little bit. And so like I totally
Yeah.
get like once it's done just wanting to like step back a little bit. Like I've felt that with some of my music too, where it's like I've released it and I'm like, all right, I'm just getting this out because I'm done with it. And then like you listen to it like a few months later, you're like, this was actually really good. Like I didn't
Yeah.
realize in the moment as I was making it how good this was.
Yeah, you put it back on, you're like, oh, this was a banger. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of times in the mixing process where like, the next day I put the headphones on, I'm like, I either think like, oh, this sounds better than I remember, or like this sounds horrible. Like this is the worst thing I've ever heard. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just feel like from listening to it over and over, like the tediousness just gets to you, and like you feel like it's affecting the song when in reality it's just, it's kind of all in your head. A lot of times.
No, for real, for real. So one of the things that I think is kind of interesting about the new project as I was listening to it, and it makes a lot of sense with the timeline that you were telling me as well, which is that kind of the writing of this started around the same time that like the live band aspect started, which was also kind of around the time that your son was born. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Well, actually, the live band was about a year after he was born. But
Okay.
I started like getting out there playing live again, or like a few months after he was born. So it coincides with like me getting back out there into like the music scene and all that. I would say like the live music scene.
Okay. Just listening to all the new music, it's very clear that this is inspired by, becoming a parent and like how that has changed your life, whether that's in a practical aspect or just like, outlook on the world, which I think is really interesting, kind of like, especially with the last album, being the not X-Ray, but on the cover being like just several months before he was born, and then this being like a couple of years after the fact. I think that watching that perspective shift and like that growth is really interesting.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that was yeah, I mean, it just kind of worked out that way, that the last one, See You Soon, we put out like right before he was born. That was kind of the intention. To like kind of put a bookmark on that part of our life, and then like, because we knew things would be radically different after he was born. And Yeah, they sure have. But like the love of music is still there, obviously, and like it gives us more to write about and stuff. So yeah, he's been obviously a really big inspiration on this album. I want to say like at least a third of the songs on it are probably about him directly, so or indirectly, some of them. But yeah, it definitely like draws a line in the sand, I think, like of this is when we became parents, my wife and I. So yeah, I definitely like it for that reason.
It's almost like starting a new era a little bit. Like the last one was kind of bookmarking the end of like an era, and then like kind of starting a new one with this new project as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost like, we should have like an eras tour or something. We could call it eras. I don't think anybody's thought of that yet, so we should try that out.
I think that's
Scoopski eras.
100% original idea. I think that's really going to take off. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think we'll trademark that. We'll go with it.
So what was kind of like, I know that you said that you do all the production, all the recording on your own at home. What does that look like? Are you I know that it's you and your wife are like the core of the band, but you also have other people who make up the live band and things like that. As far as the writing, recording, that sort of things goes, how involved or not involved is everybody else over the course of the project?
So, everything you hear from Scoopski to this point, recording wise, has been my wife and I on all the recordings. It usually starts with like, I kind of have for drums. I do play drums. That's another thing. I play drums in another band also actually called Naive Nature, but I'm sure we can get to that. But
Sure.
For Scoopski, where the song starts, I own like a drum sample library I bought like in 2019. It just kind of has like thousands of different variations of drums, and I'll take like oh, this is a swing rhythm clip. I'll take this clip, and then like it has different variations on the beats. I kind of splice them together to get them to sound the way I want. There's definitely there's lots of songs where like you'll hear the same fills throughout the albums, which it's whatever, but because there's only so much you can do with a sample library.
For sure.
I bought the sample library, and I like the way the drums sound on it, so I was like, okay, why change it now? You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's usually how it starts, and then I'll record the guitars and the bass, and then she'll kind of layer on synth and keys, and then we'll both do vocals. So that's everything you've heard up to this point, except we did just put out a cover of Last Christmas the other day.
I saw that,
and that. Yeah, that one actually, our live drummer, he plays in another band called Sacred Monsters, which is, spoiler, not to be a spoiler, but that might be one of the songs I picked for later on. But
nice.
But they were going to do a cover of Last Christmas, and I think for whatever reason it just didn't work out for them. So he's like, "Hey, I have this drum track. Would you guys want to try to cook something up for it?" So we were like, "Yeah, why not?" So that's actually the first Scoopski recording with everybody playing on it.
Oh, nice.
There will be, yeah. So it's kind of like the first one of like the live band being on recording, and then we did a session over the summer with this place called Cart Music. It's a West Philly like recording session, and we're gonna be putting out like an EP of that session probably really soon, like probably like next month. So that'll be out there too. So there'll be at least like 5 recordings with the band on them. So that's cool. We're looking forward to that.
And that's more of just like a live in the room, everybody's just playing together type of EP, as opposed to really getting meticulous with getting a ton of takes and like all that.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's basically like a live cut EP. I will say, like, everybody, even though the songs were already recorded and like everybody was kind of just playing their parts based on the recordings, like everybody brings their own like flavor to the way they played everything, which is awesome. I've always loved that.
For sure.
Like, yeah, which is awesome. Like, our guitarist Jack, he's got like a really fuzzy tone and stuff. Like, so he'll play stuff a little differently than I play on the recordings, but I love it. Makes it more raw. Our drummer Nick is like very creative. He does like these really creative fills that aren't on the recordings, which is good because, like I said, the fills on the recordings are whatever. But and then our bassist Mark, like we have the song. It's actually one of the songs on Time as a Thief. It's called Double. He came up with a bass line in the chorus that really like goes a lot further than the one on the recording did, and I just love when we play that song. And yeah, everybody's all really creative, and I'm looking forward to writing some more stuff with them in the future. And I think that's the plan, is we're probably gonna like branch out in the future and maybe explore different avenues of making songs with other people in the band too. So
Nice. Now, as you've been like writing, working on these songs, as well as starting to play live a bit more over the last year and a half, however long that's been, have you been playing many of these newer songs off of Time Is a Thief live, or has this been a lot of like, we're kind of cooking it up in the studio and then we might start to debut them after the album actually comes out?
So fortunately, I think I mentioned like this album was kind of in the works for like a long time, like probably like
Yeah.
2.5 years from start to finish. So a lot of these songs, like about 2/3 of these songs were like already out as singles before the album even came out. So
Okay.
luckily, like I want to say about half our live set was pretty much songs from this album. So we actually only play like I think maybe 2/3 even of our live set is stuff from this album. So it's definitely represented in what we've been doing live for the last year and a half or so. Yeah.
Nice. Who are some of your favorite, like, I mean, I would imagine probably get into this a little bit more when we get into your song picks, but like, who are some of your favorite local Philly acts to play with when you do play live?
Oh gosh. Well, definitely have to first give a shout out to a band called Bees. It's just Bees with an exclamation point. They're awesome.
Nice.
They kind of like shepherded me back into like the local scene in a way, I want to say, like, because we were buddies on Instagram before I'd even like ventured out to a show in years. I had known of them. I like their music. It's very like, they call it arcade rock. Kind of like,
okay,
I would say they're like Queens of the Stone Age and Presidents of the United States of America at like a 90s arcade. Like that's kind of what they sound like. They're riffy, but they're a little goofy, but they got some like, they write about video games a lot and have some like, chip tune sounds sprinkled in. They don't overdo it. They're like, just little touches here and there, but they're an amazing band to play with. They're great people, super talented musicians. They're a 3-piece and they're just really tight. Yeah, always love playing with them.
Are you familiar with the band Bathroom of the Future?
I am. Yeah.
All right.
We've been Twitter buds for a while.
Just hearing you
they're
talk
cool.
about them, I was like, I feel like you would really get into them. They're kind of from my neck of the woods.
Oh, okay, yeah. They're really cool. I like their song. Like I love they write about like nerdy pop culture stuff and all that.
Yeah,
that's something I do a lot. They seem like sweethearts. We always say like, oh, one day we're gonna play together. We're like, I hope so. maybe if they go on tour one day or we go on tour, who knows? But
okay,
yeah,
cool.
I love those guys.
Just hearing you talking about this other band, I was like, you would really like them if you haven't heard of them yet.
yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, nice. So another interesting thing, as far as you were talking about the Last Christmas cover as well. This is going to be coming out right around Christmas time. This episode, and I noticed that you actually have quite a high number of Christmas tunes in your catalog, because you've got the Last Christmas single. You were also on the Indie Dog Days of Christmas compilation last year. And then I think it was the year before that, you even released, I don't know if it was maybe only on Bandcamp or what, but even a whole compilation of your own like Christmas songs and stuff like that as well. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to corner the Christmas market. We got a couple originals on there. Christmas with Scoopski, we called it. I think the thing is, like, we're kind of just like having fun with release dates, and like we did a Halloween one last year as well. Halloween with Scoopski.
Okay.
It's just something we have fun with. It's kind of become like a joke, like, oh, what's the next one gonna be? Like, is it gonna be like Valentine's Day with Scoopski? Stay tuned. We'll see about that. Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, we just love like holiday releases. That's something I've always been into. And this actually, one of the songs from that Christmas EP, it's called Christmas Eve in the Mall. That's the one that was on the Indie Dog Days comp. That actually got played on Sirius XM as early as this morning. So
really?
like people really like that. Yeah, there's we have a fan over at on the Little Stevens Underground Garage channel. I don't know if he wants me
Nice.
to give him away or anything, but he's a Scoopski fan, and yeah, he works us into the programming. So yeah, we love him, and the show that he works on. So yeah, as early as this morning, that song was played on Sirius XM. So it's really cool to have like a little. It's almost like, this time of year that those songs like resurface, like people rediscover them because of the time of year. Like,
Yeah.
we have a cover of the Chipmunk song on there that always kind of comes up in streams around this time of year, which is awesome. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, there's almost like a little bit of a built-in audience thing of people who are looking for like holiday music that's not the same holiday music that they've been listening to for 10 plus years or whatever. So I almost feel like there is like a little bit of that market where like an original holiday tune is almost like something that has really high potential if you like work it out right.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Like, that's a new holiday song is like kind of a diamond in the rough these days. And like, you know, even like, I mean, I even liked like covers of like old Christmas songs back in the day. Like I was all about like the Reliant K Christmas album back in the
Oh
day, like where
yeah.
they did like punk versions of like Deck the Halls and stuff. Like I was all about that. But yeah, just a fresh spin on like the songs you grew up hearing is cool, and then sprinkling something new in is a little bonus too.
For sure, for sure. So, kind of circling back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, where you were talking about, kind of rediscovering your love for playing music with this group. What kind of bands were you in before, and were they all like local to Philly type of bands?
Yeah. So it was always like local Philly bands. I never really ventured too far out there. So I guess I could take it back on memory lane. So the
Yeah.
first instrument I played was drums, actually. So back in 2003, my mom got me tickets to see Good Charlotte in Philly for my 14th birthday. Oh, I just dated myself.
Classic.
Oops. But but yeah, it was my dad always played drums when I was growing up and all. Like, he was in bands when he was, a teenager and like I think like early 20s. So I always, had heard him play and like knew he was a good drummer, or I was told he was a good drummer. But after I saw that Good Charlotte play, I kind of was like, I think I want to play music. Where should I start? My dad plays drums. Maybe I'll ask for a drum kit. So I asked for a drum kit for Christmas, and it actually worked out really well because one of my cousins who I was really close with, he was like probably like my closest cousin friend. He got his first guitar that Christmas as well. And
Perfect
the
storms
funny thing
brewing
is,
right there, I can tell.
exactly, it was a
Yeah.
perfect storm. So his dad and my dad they played in bands together growing up too. So that was, and it was the same setup. His dad was on guitar, my dad was on drums. So that was kind of both of our introduction into music. We just started playing together. Like, he would come over like every other weekend. We would just kind of try to get good at our instruments and all. And then it wasn't till I was like in high school. I want to say I was like a sophomore. I was like trying to get people together for a band. We got, I kind of just picked my friends who I had at the time. Like, none of them played anything. We're like, hey, you guys are going to be in this band. And they're like, okay. So it's
That's also a
not to
very
be like
classic story.
disrespectful, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not to be disrespectful to anybody, but the band ended up kind of just being me and my cousin. Because nobody wanted to. The singer didn't want to sing, and the bass player didn't want to learn how to play bass. So it kind of just ended up being a drums and guitar band, and like, nobody really wanted to write the melodies either, or like lyrics. So we would just kind of record these horrible, sounding quality punkish songs on my
Yeah.
desktop computer, and there'd be nothing on top of them. And I was like, well, somebody's got to like come up with some melodies for these. Like, so that's kind of where I came in. And even as a drummer back then, I was kind of like, I guess I got to be the one to come up with words and melodies for this. So that's when I started, having an interest in like songwriting. And then it was like, I want to say like 2006 is when I got my first guitar, because I wanted to learn how to actually be able to play, because before that, I would kind of like tell my cousin, like, hey, I'm hearing this. Can you replicate this on guitar? But, it was kind of hard to translate that. So we kind of just,
Yeah.
we just fed off each other. But getting like, me starting on guitar, very poorly.
You're like
Still
Green
helped a
Day
lot
when
with
I
the
come
songwriting.
around, something kind of like that,
Yeah,
or whatever.
right.
Trying to just get
Where
the
he goes,
vibe
dun, dun, dun,
across,
dun,
and that
dun.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That it was kind of like that, just kind of mouthing off ideas. But yeah, it was getting guitar was like a big turning point. Like after that, so that first band I was in was like a punkish kind of band called Renegade Milkmen. And it was
Okay,
that was my high school band. Everybody has one of those.
yeah,
It was a cool story. Like, we were kind of like the joke of the high school, like the dorky kids. It was like the dorks and plus the dorks cousin. It was, my cousin. And we were mocked a lot by the other high school bands on MySpace. We were kind of like the butt of the MySpace bands in the school. But we ended up getting into a battle of the bands, and we came in third place. And that was after that the band kind of fell apart. But I was happy that we got that far, and it was a cool story to be able to, say that, hey, we were a joke, but we did pretty okay in this thing. And then from there, I kind of met some other musicians who were, in my school. But we started playing together like kind of after I graduated. It was kind of more of like a emo-ish type of band. I was also playing drums in that band, but I wanted to like do more with singing around that time. Like I was starting to get really into harmonies, and I was starting to get into the Beatles and stuff for the first time. So like I really wanted to do more singing. So I started taking singing lessons around that time. I'm still playing guitar at the same time too, still trying to improve my guitar skills. But yeah, in that band I was a drummer / backup vocalist, and still trying to like hone my songwriting skills. And like there was like 3 different songwriters in that band, and I ended up like having my share of songs too. So it was a cool exercise in like a democratic band. It ended up kind of going in like very different directions, because like towards the end, a couple of the members wanted to go in like a more, I'm gonna say they were going in more of like a Paramore type direction, and
okay.
me and
Kind of
somebody
more of
else
like
were
a
going in
pop
more of
punk
like
type
a,
thing.
yeah, and we were going in more of a power pop, and that's kind of always been
Okay, sure.
the push and pull. But yeah, so that split apart, and then me and that other member started another band, and that's actually the band I met my wife in. That was like a indie popish type band. But in that band, I actually wasn't playing drums. We recruited a different drummer, and I was just a singer in that band. So, and that was really cool. Like I actually really enjoyed like just being a front man. I can't watch the videos of it now because it's really goofy when I watch what I do on stage. But I'm like, someone hand that man a guitar, please. Like, please stop jumping around. But it was fun. So yeah, that band ended, I want to say, in like 2013-ish. I joined a Beatles cover band after that. Did that for like a year. But then yeah, from like 2014 to 2019, had my dry spell with music. But that's my little
Gotcha.
history.
Nice, yeah. No, I think that makes sense. There's like a lot of like lines and parallels to draw to what you're doing now, as far as getting more into like the power pop type of thing, and even more or less, like even with the original band being kind of more of a duo with some auxiliary members, almost has like a bit of a parallel to this as well. So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's true. I never
Um,
even thought about that, actually. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I mean, there's definitely like a way of like there's kind of a push and pull when you've only got 2 members. You've kind of got like influences coming from here, influences coming from here, and you have to figure out how to balance it.
Sure, yeah.
And I do really like kind of getting into the songwriting on the new album. Is this largely your lyrics that you're writing, I would assume?
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's actually a few songs I want to say my wife primarily wrote.
Okay.
Specifically the closing track, "Time is a Thief," the title track. She wrote that entire song. I had nothing, like no lyrical input in that song at all, really. And then a few other songs like "Seasonal," and there was one more she was the primary songwriter on. She's gonna kill me. Trying to think now. Seasonal, that was a big one. Oh, what is the other one? Oh, Nocturnally Yours. She was like
Oh, all right.
kind of those Seasonal and Nocturnally Yours, I want to say, were like 70-30 her. And then like some of the, I'd say most of the other ones were like probably 80-20, mostly me. But But those
Okay.
three were like mainly her babies. Those three, yeah.
One of the things that I think is really interesting about like the way that you guys like write your lyrics is there's like a little bit of a balancing act between almost like a like humorous comedy type like underbelly to it, but then there's also like some a lot of sincerity to it as well. Like one on like more of the comedy side, like I was busting a gut listening to Dad Bod the first time because I was like, this is just such a like great little amusing tune that anybody can relate to. I think I forget exactly what the lyric is, but it was like something to the effect of like, I have a son now, so I can say I've gotta, and then it goes into the Dad Bod chorus, which I thought was an amazing like play off of it. Like, I've always kind of felt like this, but now I've got an excuse for it type of. I thought that was hilarious.
Yes. So you just completely got the point of the song. That was the entire reason I wrote that song. Was I was like, because I've had weight issues my entire life. It's been like it's been a thing. And as soon as I had my son, like I was thinking about the phrase dad bod, because I was like, am I allowed to say I have a dad bod now? Like, and I was like, can I use this as my excuse? And like, so I started writing that song about it. And like, I think you nailed it. I think that song especially, like, there's a lot, like, there's some lines in that song that are like a little uncomfortable for me, like talking about like how insecure I am about like my weight and stuff, like for most of my life. And then like there's also, they're delivered in a way that's kind of meant to be humorous and lighthearted. But yeah, I've always kind of felt like
the balancing act of that a lot of like, it's very heartfelt, but also at the same time there's like the comedy at the same time that like kind of helps soften the blow a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. That's totally, especially with that song, that's especially what I went for. Because like, I mean, there's some lines in it that like I listen to and I'm like, they're actually kind of dark, but the way I'm delivering it, nobody would ever really think that it's too dark. So I've always kind of liked when a line, I always thought it was kind of good if a line made me a little uncomfortable to sing it. Like if I felt like it's a little either too personal in a weird way, or like kind of like why would someone sing that? Like those are kind of the lines I gravitate towards a lot of times. Like if it makes you kind of go, huh? Like I'm usually like, yeah, I'm gonna sing that then.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just kind of what I always gravitate towards.
But then at the same, on the same kind of level, there's also a lot of songs that do feel just very genuine and heartfelt, like full stop. Like when you get to like, Time is a Thief specifically, or, a few of those other ones kind of about like, watching your son grow up, or like watching time pass, and kind of tackling like wrestling with the fact that like you're never gonna have this exact time again. Like I think that the whole thing, there's a really nice arc throughout the whole thing of like touching on like some of the more serious topics, and then also like more heartfelt stuff, even like Babel as well, which is another just like a little fun one that isn't like super heavy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's yeah, definitely what we went for. Like Time is a Thief, when she first played that song for me, because like I said, she wrote that song completely. That was all her. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was bawling when she first played that song for me. I couldn't even because like I said, I mix everything and all. I couldn't even work on that song like for like a good week without bawling every single time I opened it on my. Yeah, it was like anytime I was like working on the vocals and I heard some of it, I was like, oh my God. And I just would start bawling because I was like, this is like so emotional to me. And yeah, I mean, I love it for that. I think it's like a perfect Mother's Day song almost, like it's, or like a mother-son dance type of song. Like, I want to try to, yeah, we got to try to push it around Mother's Day. I think like that's probably what we're going to try to do. But
see, that's
yeah,
your marketing
I love that
strategy.
song.
You heard it here first.
Yep. Yep, that's what we're doing this year, Mother's Day. Yeah, then like some other songs like Everybody's Guessing, the first song. So that was actually kind of funny. It's actually sentimental in some different ways. So the way that song started, I actually started out with the part in the beginning where I'm just going, yeah, like over like an A chord, where I'm just playing that. That's actually something that I came up with when my son was like 2 months old, and he would kind of just sit in his like little cradle thing and, just chill. I would just kind of like stand in front of him and play guitar. And I just kind of came up with that. It was a lot slower at the time. Like I actually at the time called it the Oasis song, because it was like kind of more of an Oasis type tempo.
Okay.
And just singing like a Beatles type melody over top of like a, more slow swingy guitar.
New school
but
Beatles almost.
yeah, kind
Yeah.
of. So the way that song evolved is like I kind of just only had that part and those chords, and for like a good year and a half, I didn't really know what to do with it. I knew I wanted to use it because I liked that yeah part a lot, but I was like, what's this gonna be about? Like, what's the hook of this song? What's the idea of it? So, fast forward to when my son was, almost 2, we're down in the basement, and I was playing the song, and he started saying, everybody guessing, everybody guessing. I was like, what does that mean? Like, we never said that to you. We don't know where you got that from. I still to this day don't know where he heard that. But he kept saying it like over and over when I was playing that song. And I was like, I started like having ideas in my head, like everybody's guessing, like everybody. And then the phrase everybody's guessing their way through life came in my head. I was like, okay, I think we got something here. Like,
Yeah.
So he actually got a co-writing credit on that song because he said that phrase in our basement, and we don't know where it came from to this day. So he gave me the concept of that song and like the title of it when he was not even 2 years old. For some reason, I still can't explain it. Maybe I'll have to have him explain it to me one day when he can, articulate it. But
Yeah.
but yeah, the crux of that song is kind of like about like how when you grow up and get old, like you're still not going to know what you're doing in life. Like everybody's always, scared and confused, and like,
It's a very
just because you're an
relatable
adult
song.
doesn't mean. Thank you. Yeah, and I relate to it myself, like completely. Like I still feel like that in my 30s. It's like you don't know. When you're a kid, you always think like, oh, I'm gonna have it all figured out when I'm older, and like you get to this point, and you're like, oh no, I don't. Like, I still have no idea what I'm talking about. So that's kind of what that's about.
Yeah, I like that. So, is there anything else specifically that you want to touch on, whether it is about the new album or Scoopski as a whole, or anything else, before we kind of move on to the next part of the episode here?
Not necessarily. So, well, maybe like in the new year, we might, with our live shows, we might be kind of going in a different direction, but we're
Okay.
still working that out a bit. My wife kind of decided that it's kind of been like a lot for us, like playing as many shows as we have and all, especially with the youngin' at home. So we might, I mean, there's a possibility maybe we just won't play as many shows, or we might go back to being a recording act for a bit, but it's all kind of up in the air. But one way or another, I'll still be playing out there, whether it's in Scoopski or something else. But I'll still be out there doing my thing because like I still have the live bug. But long story short, Scoopski's not going anywhere. We'll still always be around as like a recording thing, even if we're not playing live for a bit or taking a hiatus from live. But either way, that's we'll still be doing our thing.
Right on. So we'll still be seeing you pop up everywhere for sure.
Oh sure,
right.
yeah. You'll still be seeing me.
Nice. All right. So, moving on to the next part of the episode here, we're going to go back and forth. We're going to share some new tunes, some fresh finds, if you will. Hey, so the name of the show. Woo!
All right.
So I'm gonna start out. I'm gonna play my first song first. We're gonna go back and forth, which is gonna give you the closer. Does that sound all right for you?
Sounds good to me. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Perfect. So my first song that I'm going to play is a song that came out little over a year ago. It came out in September of 2023. And my one buddy, I've got a friend who's also like really into like independent music. He's not kind of into like the DIY scene as much as I am, but he really likes to find new stuff. And I mean, if you go through our group chat, it is like 90% just us sending Spotify links to each other. That's like most of what this like group chat is. But and
That's
he
awesome.
swears that he sent me this song before, but I don't remember it. Anyway, I found this song. It's called Pesticides. It's by an artist called I don't know if it's Moseley or Moselle, something like that. Anyway, I found it for the first time on TikTok less than a month ago and have been absolutely obsessed with it. So let's play that one first.
I think I accidentally smoked pesticides or PCP the year before I left for college. Everything looked like a deep-fried meme. I think somebody laced my weed. I didn't do it to myself, I promise. My mama warned me about little pills and older men, strawberry fields that never end. She did her time. Somehow escaped that clawing hand, a strength I'll never understand. That iron grip can get so tight. What if I broke this stupid glass over my dumb head? Let all the blood run down my arms till the garden's fed. Wait till the flowers bloom in the same place that I bled. Make a bouquet hoping I'm half as useful when I'm dead. My hair was blue when I met you, once purple, pink, even green too. Poison dart frog taught me well. Playing pretend for $10 a seed. What a small price to meet the queen of hell. Springs and caves and muggy weather, things that make me feel I'm tethered as no one else is to their home. Broken needles, hummingbird feeders, elderberry wine by the liter, neural pathways over catacombs. What if I broke this stupid glass over my dumb head? Let all the blood run down my arms till the garden's fed. Wait till the flowers bloom in the same place that I bled. Make a bouquet hoping I'm half as useful when I'm dead. And I didn't think I'd find anyone with half the brain to think I'm the one they'd like to wander home with. What if I broke this stupid glass over my dumb head? Let all the blood run down my arms till the garden's fed. Wait till the flowers bloom in the same place that I bled. Make a bouquet hoping I'm half as useful when I'm dead. Wait till the flowers bloom in the same place that I bled. Make a bouquet hoping I'm half as useful when I'm dead.
Oh, it cut out at the very end there.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool. Though.
I really
Was
like
jamming
that
to it.
tune personally. Yeah. It's got this really cool kind of like, it's a very simple kind of like arrangement, very pretty basic like rock arrangement, but when you actually listen to each of the individual parts, there's like some really cool stuff going on, like especially with like the way that the chords are the way that they like they what do you call that now? Arpeggiated, like at the very end and stuff like
Arpeggiated,
that.
yeah.
It's really interesting. Whether it's like the bass line or like, you know, the drums, even though it is very simple, there's like a lot of like really interesting, just like little one-off grooves and stuff like that that I really dig in this song.
Yeah, I heard some pretty cool bass work in there. And like there was a lot of cool little production touches. Like in the second verse, there was some little flourishes I heard. It was really catchy. Like I think one of the marks of a great melody is like when you start coming up with like harmonies in your head and stuff, like coming up with a low harmony, stuff like that. But I was doing that. Also, for some reason, I got like a early 2000s Nickelodeon theme show like it should be like a theme song for like a show or something like that. It's just the chorus had that kind of energy to it for some, I don't know why, like As Told by Ginger or something like that. Like that's what I was feeling.
Yeah. No, I kind of get what you're getting at for sure. And like, I also personally, one of my favorite things about this song is her vocal inflection. When she sings specific parts, there's like a little bit of like twang or like you know just a little something that gets peppered on top, just a little bit of spice to it that I really like. There's the special, I think it's the line. Poison dart frogs taught me well. There's like a little bit of like something to that little like slur like thing that just like every time I hear it, it just tickles my brain in just the right way.
Yeah, that's just adds character. It's really cool. I like that.
But yeah, so this was only their second single that they put out. They had one song in 2022, this song in 2023, which also had an acoustic version and a remix version that came out in 2024, as well as two more singles that came out a little bit later in August, and then a new one that actually just came out in December that I haven't listened to yet. But it, again, if they're anything like this one, then I think I will really like it.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely worth a listen.
So, what do we have up next?
Oh, is this? Am I picking now? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I guess why don't we go with first we'll go with Sacred Monsters Shut Up, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Should I give you a background now or
a little bit of background on it, something to kind of, prep us for what we're getting into here?
Sure. So Sacred Monsters, definitely one of my favorite local Philly bands. They'll probably be the theme of all my picks, to be honest with you.
Nice.
So they are female vocal led. I guess, I don't know if you want to call them power pop. I might call them power pop. They have a little bit of like Veruca Salt sound to them. Great harmonies, really fun songs. We share a drummer with them as well. Scoopski's live drummer, Nick, plays in this band as well. That's actually kind of how I came about him. I was at one of their shows and I was like, I love their songs. We were talking after the show and we seemed like we vibed a bit. And when we needed a drummer for the live band, I was like, hey, do you think you'd be interested? And I was very fortunate that he was interested. So yeah, they're just an incredible band. They're so fun. So this song's called Shut Up.
was just being nice. No, I don't want your stupid, manly advice. And I sure as hell am not gonna give you mine. Shut up, get out, get back in line. Oh, 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 oh,
All right. I like that a lot.
Cool. Yeah, they're such a great band. They're like when you see them live. I mean, I've been fortunate to see them live probably like 5 times in the last year. Just because they're all friends and they look so happy when they play, and I know they get that a lot, but they exude joy when they're playing. Like they just look like they're having a great time, and they're all great musicians. Their guitarist Fataday, I actually just played a show with him last night.
Shoot, we've featured one of his songs on a previous episode a few months ago, actually.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
No crap. Oh, that's awesome.
He submitted something directly to me through my email, actually.
Oh my God, that's awesome. He's a sweetheart. He is an amazing man. He makes solo music too, which is also great. And the band I play drums in, Naive Nature, we just played with him last night in Philly. So that's
nice.
Awesome. Coming full circle. But yeah, he plays in this band as well. So yeah, that's awesome.
I always think it's really interesting kind of hearing, because I mean it's a maybe a term that doesn't sound quite as nice, but it's kind of interesting to hear how incestuous local music scenes can get in a way, because like you've got this one guy who fronts their one band, but then they're also the drummer in this band, but then they're also the bassist in another band, and just looking at how interconnected the scene is always really interesting. And like I'm starting to put together some of these pieces about like the Philly scene that I didn't realize. That's really interesting.
No, I'm cracking up here because Jack, who after you just got done saying that, it's gonna sound even funnier. Jack, who is the front man of the band Naive Nature I play in, who also plays in Scoopski's live band. He always cracks up because I say that to him all the time. I always say the Philly scene is like very incestuous, and he he always makes it a point to say that the night that I met his girlfriend, I told him that the Philly scene is incestuous, and she always remembers me saying that. So that's the impression I left on his girlfriend, with me saying that. That's why I'm cracking up so much.
That's funny.
But yeah, it's very true. It's very true though. Yeah.
Yeah, I really dig this song though. It's really got that kind of like indie pop kind of vibe. It's very anthemic in the chorus, like kind of similar to the last song. Like it's fairly simple as far as like the way that it's arranged, but like all of the parts have like some really interesting things going on if you like really listen. And then again, at the same time, like sometimes you just need a really simple arrangement to just make a song sound as good as it can. You don't have to go on like the prog shit all the time. Like sometimes you just need, just a basic pop arrangement to, make the song that you want to make.
Yeah, I think they're like incredible at that, honestly. Like they keep their songs pretty, pretty basic, but they just like are like they hard hitting, like they just hit you with like, all the harmonies and the chunky power chords, and it's just like they're like a force, when they play, and it's awesome. Yeah.
Seeing that this is their most recent single, which was released back in October, and they had in EP, it looks like. There was 4 songs that came out back in April. Do you know if they're working on another longer format project, if this is going to be leading up to another EP or maybe like their first full-length album or anything like that?
I don't know the specifics of that. I know they're working on more material because Nick, who drums with us as well, is going into the studio with them tomorrow. And I only know that because he's going to lay down a drum track for potentially a new song for us as well during that session. So
sweet.
Yeah, so I do know they're going back in the studio. That's as far as I know, though.
Okay. That actually brings up in something kind of interesting that I just thought of from our conversation before we started playing songs, was that you mentioned that the cover that you had just put out, the Christmas song, which one was it? Last Christmas. That was the first song that you had done live drums on, and then you mentioned that he's doing live drums for another Scoopski song coming up relatively soon as well. Are you getting from the engineer when they're recording in the studio like a mixed drum track that you're using, or are you starting to like learn to mix acoustic unmixed drums as like part of kind of a new leveling up your production type of thing?
So I did not. He got all the tracks from his engineer that he records with. He records with the guy in Jersey. I'm not sure exactly his name. But yeah, actually, our bassist Mark Schuster, he does a lot of music production as well, and he actually put the drum tracks together because I told him, I was like, that's above my pay grade. I do not know how to do all that. So, Mark did the drum production on this recording, and I think he did a great job mixing what Nick had recorded. So it was kind of a collaborative production too, I would say, with that one.
I do think personally, from my perspective at least, drums are some of the most fun instruments to mix, because there is a little bit of like, you have to do things to make them feel cohesive, and there's a lot of elements that you have to make feel like one thing. But at the same time, like there's a lot of creative liberty that you can do with tonal shaping of drums that allows you to like kind of put your own sonic footprint on it without really changing what it is at its core. Like there's a lot of different ways that you can like saturate and compress and like different things that can make the same drum recording sound drastically different but still work for the song. Personally, I think that it's like one of my favorite instruments in like a basic rock mix to like play around with.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I know a lot of people get like so into like the EQing and all, like with like I gotta, bring down this hertz to make the snare pop more or less, or all that. So yeah, no, you can get very detailed with like what you can do with a drum kit on mixing.
And then again, on top of like, the actual recording aspect, which I know that you said that he's got his engineer that he goes to for those things. But drums are just a really fun thing to record because there's so many different ways to approach it. Whether you want to do like overheads and close mics on everything, or if you want to try and do like a much more bare bones, like vintage Glyn Johns type of approach or whatever. Whereas like you're recording guitar or whatever. A lot of the time you're like, all right, so I can put the mic here, or I could put the mic slightly over here, and for the most part, like there's a little bit more like really getting into the nitty gritty and the science of it that I really like for like drum production that I think personally is really fun.
So I'll go on a little side quest here on this conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm probably, drums are probably the instrument I'm most like proficient at on like a technical level. Like I'm probably most confident playing drums, like more than playing guitar. But I hate recording drums. I hate it. I hate it's not just recording drums, it's recording drums to a click. I hate it.
Yeah, okay.
I hate it. I just did it in studio with the band Knife Nature I play in, and I love the songs I'm playing, but playing to a click is so intimidating to me because it's like when I'm playing, I'm not even thinking about like, obviously, the general, like you don't want to speed up the song too much and all that. But like, I generally just kind of follow the guitarist, like going back to our conversation, like, I started playing music with my cousin, just me and a guitar. Like I just followed the guitar, and I've always just been like a feel drummer, like kind of, and like following a click is very difficult for me. I mean, I did it, like I got through it. You know, how much I need to be quantized, we'll leave that, you know, to the imagination. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but you know, I got through it. But yeah, I find it very intimidating to play to a click. And actually, that's where I'll give Nick props, the drummer of Sacred Monsters and Scoopski. He plays to a click live as well.
Okay.
So he likes to play with a live click, which is also something we're thinking about, you know, for the future. Because like if he's playing to a click, we could also potentially add like some backing stuff as well. I think that was just, you know, maybe
you could do some tracks and like start playing with like in-ear monitors and like that kind of stuff. Really kind of like level up the live show almost in a way.
Yeah. We were talking about that a bit very recently. So, you know, stay tuned. We'll see. But
nice.
Yeah, but that's the end of my side quest.
I do get kind of like that push and pull of like the internal, you know, your internal groove versus like a metronome. And there's definitely like a thing where if you're playing live, there's almost like, you know, even if it's just the adrenaline hits you a little harder because you're playing live or whatever, you know, almost feeling like you're tethered as opposed to being like, because there's almost two sides to it. There's like, if you're not used to it, then a metronome can feel like a tether almost, like you're being dragged down. You have to play exactly to this. But then there's also kind of like another aspect where it's almost like liberating because then you can start to add like the tracks and like do even more with the live show at the same time. So it's an interesting push and pull that you just have to get used to one way or the other if you want to kind of, you know, take that on.
Sure, yeah. I guess it's like just whether you want to let the primal beast in you just play what you're feeling, like, you know, in your own groove, or if you want to be more meticulous with it and like, you know, take a more measured approach to it, for sure. Yeah.
And there's not a value judgment on that one way or the other, because I mean they both are you know, they're both have their upsides and downsides. I just think that it's an interesting thing to think about, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so my next song, I don't know how often, do you ever just browse for music on Bandcamp? Because I know that you've got your music on Bandcamp, but I feel like a lot of people just use it as a store. They find music somewhere else. They go, oh, it's Bandcamp Friday. I want to support some of my favorite artists, so I'm going to go buy their album on there, you know, do whatever.
Unfortunately, I haven't done that in a while. I did that. I've done that a few times back in the day, but yeah, it's been a while since I've done a good like Bandcamp searching party.
So that's one of my favorite ways to like discover new stuff and kind of get out of my bubble a little bit, because being in like the DIY Twitter kind of bubble, there's a lot of like, you know, people talking about new releases and stuff like that. But one of the things that I like to do personally is I really like to talk about bands that nobody else is really talking about sometimes, you know, shine a light on something new. And so one of the ways that I really like to do that is at the bottom of like the homepage of Bandcamp is they have this actually very in-depth searching, like browsing feature where you can browse by the genre that you want, subgenres even. Like if you click on metal, there's like a tab specifically for like if you want like doom metal, thrash metal, you know, whatever. And you can also filter by like newest releases. You can filter by like location, a whole bunch of stuff, which is super fun. And so the other day I felt like I was in a little bit of a rut. I wasn't finding anything new that like nobody else was talking about. So I decided to do that. And I found this really cool act from Taiwan. All of these are translated into English because I do not speak, I believe Taiwan speaks Chinese. If I'm wrong, somebody can call me out in the comments. But anyway, I don't speak any of these languages, so all of this is translated. Thank you, Google. But Kristen Haseo is the name of the artist. They are from Taiwan, and this song is called Sunset. It was kind of funny. I decided to just look it up on Spotify, or Tidal in my case, and I was like, all right, so the album art is a sunset, so I'll just look for that. I paste it, and I'm like, why do all of these look the same? Then I put it into Translate. I saw that it translated to sunset. I was like, oh, well, that makes a bit more sense.
There you go.
But anyway, this is some kind of like ambient indie post-rock type stuff. So let's get into it. This is a pretty fun one.
Cool. Nice. That was cool.
Yeah, it was something that when I was just idly browsing, there was something that just kind of caught my ear about that. I was like, this is really interesting. I haven't listened to this kind of like instrumental post-rock type stuff in a very long time. And it kind of got me back into it a little bit. There's just something about like the ever repeating like evolution of it that's really satisfying.
Yeah, it's like I always appreciate like instrumental music from this standpoint of like I could never do that because I don't have I don't have the technical ability to really do that. Like I like can memorize chords and like that's about it. I could never like, you know, jam on something like that or just like make something that intricate. Like, but that was really cool. Like the way that was building and stuff was like perfect. Like, you know, one of my not too much of a secret, but my favorite band is Weezer of all time. And
it's
you know,
right
it
behind
kind of
you
reminded
on
me
the,
of like
on top of the thing there. Yeah.
have to have them up there.
That and Good
but,
Charlotte.
kinda,
Shout out both of those.
yeah, and then the Pink Spiders right there. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're another favorite. But the end, it kind of reminded me of the end of Only in Dreams by Weezer, if you're familiar with that song. It's the last track on the Blue album. It has like a really long instrumental section that just builds like that. And that was really cool.
And it's something I feel like it would be really interesting to see how something like this gets translated to a live set. Because looking at her Instagram a little bit, it's linked on the Bandcamp. I see a lot of use of like modular synthesizers and things like that. And modular synthesis is always something that I have found very interesting, but have never been able to delve into because I don't have money like that to be able to invest in like those types of things. But I feel like it would be really interesting to put together some sort of live show because you can also have like the voltage control that comes out of the modular synth that like controls lights and things like that as well. I feel like something like this could translate to a very unique and interesting type of instrumental live show that would be really engaging to watch.
Yeah, like I feel like an entire set of something like that, I mean, would just be like really captivating. It would just like, you know, be almost transformative. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. Almost, I mean, that's the other thing about like this type of music is it's almost meditative in a way. Like it. Yeah. To me, when I'm listening to it, I almost feel like I'm lost in time. Like this is, you know, a 4.5 minute song or something like that, and it doesn't feel nearly that long at all because I'm just so captivated the entire time that like time almost stands still in a way just because there's so much to like analyze and listen to and take in that I think is really, really cool.
Definitely. Yeah. It's you know, it takes you to a place and like, you know, you're not really thinking about like the start or end of the song or anything like that. So
I think that's another thing just of instrumental music in general, especially when it's kind of more this almost like ambient style, is that there is just kind of that like there's a narrative, but it's not explicit in a way. Like it takes you on a journey, but like, you know, pop music, rock music, anything with lyrics really typically has a more explicit journey that it's taking you on, some sort of story or a feeling or whatever. And this kind of like allows you to like, you know, use your imagination and feel. And this is also kind of like where the I was kind of joking about the cover art being a sunset and not realizing that the song was called Sunset. But like it really is interesting how just that like prepping your brain with that image almost like tells you, gives you a starting point, and then you can kind of extrapolate from there.
Yeah, it's funny how artwork can do that, isn't it? It's like it'll almost implant an idea in your head first. But you know, I guess that's, you know, great artwork. You know,
I feel like instrumental music almost skews multimedia more than like pop music does, which I think is interesting.
Sure, yeah, because if you don't have like lyrics, I guess you'll have like other, you know, imagery to carry out what would be in the place of the lyrics. Yeah,
it's something that I haven't thought a whole lot about, but like in the last couple months, like those types of things I've been thinking about that a little bit more, like what that visual medium does for music in that way.
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right, so what do we have up next?
Next, why don't we go with Cars by Fuzzy Slippers.
Okay.
So this song, this came out, I want to say like 2 months ago. So a little background on this. This is another Philly band, like every song I picked on this list.
Yeah.
They kind of have almost a little bit of like a Bare Naked Ladies or They Might Be Giants sound to them.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah. I mean, like vocally, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of like the lyrics and like the songwriting too. But funny story, actually, we're going back to the incestuous scene type thing conversation.
Yeah.
The bassist of this band also plays bass in the band Naive Nature that I play in as well.
Okay.
So Mickey, if you're watching, love you. But yeah, this is the band he plays bass in called Fuzzy Slippers. Song's called Cars, and I've loved this song since they put it out. It's just gets stuck in my head all the time.
Another long night of pretending to try, leaving alone with all the usual whys. Drunk on my skateboard, hoping my balance lasts. And the cars fly past, and as I hurtle towards the pavement, I wonder if my time could have been better spent. But then it hits me and the notion leaves me fast. I am a human road rash, and the cars how many roads must a man walk down before he's hit by a car? How many times can a guy try to get home just to end up at the bar and wake up on someone else's lawn as the lights go out and the sprinklers come on? The sirens wail, the drunks all scatter and hide. Looks like I'm the one tonight getting a ride, but I guess someone else must have got the memo last. And the cars fly past, so as I pour one out for my replacement, I wonder if my time could have been better spent. But then it hits me and the notion leaves me fast. In fact, I leave the notion all over the grass. And the cars fly. How many roads must a man walk down before he's hit by a car? How many times can a guy try to get home just to end up at the bar and wake up on someone else's lawn as the lights go out and the sprinklers come on and all the booze is gone, but you're still clinging to the plan, even if you can barely stand. Almost home free, just past old Pete, who sleeps outside, but our respective drunken exploits must be fated to collide. Pete stumbles and we tumble over the overpass. And the cars fly past, and as I hurtle towards the pavement, I wonder if my time could have been better spent. But then it hits me and the notion leaves me fast. I am a human road rash, and the cars and the cars and the damn it, motherfucking, what are the words?
Oh, that one is so much fun.
Isn't it? Yeah, it just makes you smile.
it had me off the bat, like even just with like the first like guitar riff and the tone of it, I knew that I was gonna be into it. But like you're so right about the kind of like Bare Naked Ladies, They Might Be Giants kind of like influence on the vocals too, because
Yeah.
it's weird to like think of intangibly what that means, but it's like there's a weird phrasing to it, and
Sure.
there's something like very human about that because it doesn't feel it almost feels stream of consciousness in a way.
Yeah. I know from what Mickey has told me that their singer's favorite band of all time is They Might Be Giants. So I guess that's
Sure.
probably just second nature to him. But yeah, I love that song ever since it came out. Like I listen to it at the gym like all the time.
Okay.
And they I think they've been around for like a few years, but they're putting out their first album in January.
Nice.
And they're having like a release show at a place called Creep Records in Philly, which I'm planning on being at. They recorded this at I believe it was Headroom Studios, you said, which is owned by I don't know if you're familiar with the band Dr. Dog, if you've ever heard of them, but one of the members of Dr.
sounds
Dog.
familiar, but the name of the studio also sounds familiar for some reason.
Yeah, it's a very a lot of Philly bands use that studio.
Okay.
I don't want to like throw names out there of who I think recorded there, like with and I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
But I feel like Long Friend Time Friend might have recorded their album there.
That would make sense.
I could be totally wrong, but yeah, but it sounds great. I mean, he's had nothing but good things to say about that studio, Headroom Studios. But yeah, just overall, I just love that song.
Yeah, again, it's also just like super catchy too. Like you were saying, just it gets stuck in your head, and it really is such an earworm. Like this is kind of like instrumentally, it almost reminds me of like ironically as well, kind of reminds me of like the Cars era of like power pop, kind of like that like 70s like power pop kind of era.
Sure,
I don't know what it is specifically about it that reminds me of that, but it's just like these instantly catchy melodies that like even though you've heard it like the first time, it feels like you've like heard this song for years and years and years.
Yeah, it's I don't know, like that's another song, going back to like the first song we talked about. I feel like the chorus could be like a theme song to like some kind of 90s TV show. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it's remind me of like Malcolm in the Middle because of They Might Be Giants or something, but like I just want to hear that song in like the beginning of like a Nickelodeon cartoon or something, like the chorus.
The lyrics are also interesting to me as well. Like, it feels like it's the type of thing where like you find yourself, you try to grow, but you find yourself falling back into like old habits, and like you try to do new things, and you just always end up back at the same place. And the wordplay of like getting hit by a car is very amusing because it can kind of feel like that way sometimes, where it's like you're like, all right, I'm doing really well, and then kind of just out of nowhere you're just like back to what feels like square one almost. And I like that like wordplay there a lot.
Yeah, it's very clever, like, all around. I think the whole thing.
Very fun stuff. I'm definitely looking
Yeah.
forward to this full length. You said that's likely going to be coming out in January?
Yeah, I believe it's coming out in January. So they just put another single out, I think yesterday actually, called Fighting Stance. They actually had a few like reels and TikToks go viral this year. Mickey's
nice.
Mickey's really good at like, making just these viral little clips. Their tag is I think it's at Ask Fuzzy Slippers on Instagram. But yeah, he's just really good at it. The sad part of that is he tells us like, going viral on like reels or whatever pretty much does nothing for your music. Like it doesn't really translate to listeners for the most part, which is strange.
Yeah.
Maybe it can in certain circumstances, but like in the circumstances like theirs have gone viral, he said it hasn't really translated over yet. But we'll see, because he's really good at it, so I think he'll have more up his sleeve too.
Well, yeah, for sure. Social platforms kind of have an incentive to try and keep you on the platform as much as possible. And so I think that
Right.
there is something there where it kind of gets gamed, where somebody's like, oh, I really like this. And then you don't ever go and actually like check out the full song.
Yeah.
Or the other thing that you can fall into, and this is potentially even worse, which is that you do have your viral moment, but it doesn't have anything to do with your music. You make it on like the band account, and you just do this goofy one-off meme that has nothing to do with your music at all, and that's the thing that takes off, and everybody's like, oh, you're the band that did the one thing, and you're like, but we're an actual band. Like, can you pay attention to that a little bit?
I think at least one of theirs was something like that. It was some kind of meme about like drummers or something like that. But yeah, it stinks that's the case. But
social media is a fickle beast.
It sure is. It sure is.
All right. So my next song was a direct submission. If you are listening to the podcast and you are interested in potentially having a song of yours featured on an episode as well, send it to me at freshfindspod@gmail.com. And you might end up like this band called Dallas Orbiter, who are from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And this is off of their newest album called Spaceman Things, which came out in September. This song is called To the Breakdown. really fun stuff on that.
Yeah, the bass was like really grooving in like the verses. That was sick.
Yeah.
Definitely stood out.
The thing that I really like about it is it kind of is like a throwback sound almost to me to like 70s era like prog almost, where it's kind of got this like, you know, big instrumental jam sessions and like that kind of stuff, experimenting with psychedelia a little bit as well, but also has kind of like a basis in pop music almost.
Yeah, I was picking up on the 70s rock as well, like, and then especially like towards the end where like the synth came in and stuff like that, like the heavy synth.
It's a very classic kind of synth sound for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost gave me some like I don't even know, like some Yes maybe, like just the Sticks, like something in that wheelhouse. But it was really cool. Yeah, it's like not a sound you hear a ton of like newer bands producing anymore. So it's you know, it sounds fresh right now, I think, you know.
Yeah. No, that's something I've not last I don't remember exactly when we featured it, but there's a band called Paper Space that are from California that also kind of like scratched that like 70s prog kind of itch for me. And I think it's really interesting because like you said, not a whole lot of bands are doing that right now. And
right.
It's really cool, like, when you can do that, you're almost, like, doing a fresh thing. Like, if most people are doing, like, a 70s throwback sound, right? For the most part, it's gonna probably sound like Zeppelin with maybe, like, a little bit of, like, you know, more mainstream Rush or something like that thrown in, is usually what that ends up sounding like. If you think of, like, you know, your Greta Van Fleet or Dirty Honey or, like, any bands like that are specifically branding themselves as doing, like, this 70s revival throwback thing. And I think that it's cool seeing, like, the prog of that era getting a little bit more love.
Yeah, it's definitely fresh, like you said. It's a fresh find, so there you go.
It's also really interesting because I was reading kind of like their biography and their history is really interesting because this is actually kind of the second coming of this band in a way, because they actually started out in 2001 and had a run of albums and things that they put out between 2001 and 2007, and then largely went on hiatus for a while until they started putting out new stuff again in 2024. So it's
cool.
Yeah, I think that it's really cool seeing kind of like this reformation of the band. I haven't checked out any of their older stuff, but I would be interested to see how like similar or dissimilar it is to like this type of stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like the concept of like, you know, a band could be, you could think it's done, but then like, why not just pick up one day if you're in connection with those old bandmates and you want to like, you know, pick back up where you left off. There's no rules that say you can't do that. So I mean, that's awesome. There's a band I came across recently where the story was like they're like in their late teens, like these guys are like 18, 19, maybe 20, and the band name is the same name as his father's old band name from the 90s, and they're playing the same songs as well.
Oh, so interesting.
The guy's son picked up the band where his father left it off. I thought that was really cool. They're a local band too. I think they're called the Grimjacks. Their dad like books shows, and he's a really nice guy. But I thought that story was really cool.
Are they that does sound really interesting. Are they writing new originals as well and kind of like continuing on the whole thing, or are they almost like a cover band of like that old band in a way?
I was wondering that too. I'm not sure the exact story, but I would think that's really cool if they're like continuing the legacy, like continuing to write new things, and like who knows, maybe like he could pass it on to his kids one day. It could just never go away, you know. And like each generation could add new songs. Like that's a really cool concept.
Yeah, and you know, kind of going back into like the history of this band, it kind of seems like everybody kind of got to the point where, you know, they were you know, starting families and doing all that as one does.
Yep.
And then it seems like they kind of picked this back up after maybe they saw a little bit more stability in their lives after, you know, kids have grown up a little bit, all that sort of deal, which I think is
Sure,
really
yeah.
interesting. And again, just this whole album is really incredible. If you are into this sound, I highly recommend checking out the whole thing. It's about 50 minutes of just really cool kind of throwback psychedelic prog rock music.
Cool.
So what do we have up next?
Next, how about we do let's take a little curve here. I did a couple, you know, power poppy songs. I mean, yeah, I don't think I would call this band power pop. I talked about them earlier though. They're called
Okay.
Bees. They're a Philly band, like a power trio, and they're just really fun, really riffy. You know, I think they called themselves like goofy riffy rock at one point, but now they call themselves arcade rock. I would
Okay.
say they're kind of somewhere in the middle of that, but they take a lot of like influence of like video game soundtracks and all. I think this is the one. Is this the one? No, they have another song that's like influenced by like Gerudo Valley from Ocarina of Time. Like they took like the
interesting.
chords from that,
Yeah.
and they wrote a song around those chords. Like they do things like that. But the one I picked out is called If You Ask Me, and it's just it's just a great song. They don't, you know, their songs are pretty punchy and like, you know, to the point, but they get in, get out and punch you in the mouth. So
Nice.
great band.
Some say I'm a king, some say I'm a god, some say that I'm all the good things that have come along. Some say I'm a fool, some say I'm a fraud, some say that I'm all the evil, everything that's wrong. If you ask me, I'm nothing. You're the same, just a little less. I don't care how you think I built my house, 'cause you can't blow down my door. Some see me as a chandelier, some say I'm the floor. Some feel better cozied up inside a metaphor. Some say I'm so right, some say it's all wrong. Some just hear a catchy tune and start to sing along. If you ask me, I'm nothing. You're the same, just a little less. I don't care how you think I built my house, 'cause you can't blow down my.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool sound. It's I it's like Queens of the Stone Age at a 90s arcade or something. It's just really
Yeah.
cool.
I
It's original.
really love how they use that like the chiptune like lead. It's more of like a 16-bit than like an 8-bit sound. But like the way that
Yeah.
they actually incorporate it into the music as like the lead synth sound, because I feel like a lot
Yeah.
of the time bands don't necessarily go all the way with that, where they will
Right.
they'll decide to use like chiptune 8-bit 16-bit sounds or whatever, but like they don't necessarily incorporate it into the arrangement. It's almost like a party trick or something like that, whereas this feels like it's a
Yeah.
lot more like baked into the sound, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, it feels like it's like part of the DNA of the song. It's really
Yeah.
awesome. Just feels like it belongs there. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, I listened to a band, back in the day called I Fight Dragons. If you're familiar with them, like they had a lot of chiptuney stuff, but
Okay.
like I almost feel like Bees does it better. Like they it feels so natural with them, and yeah, it's almost like if you took it away, you couldn't imagine the song without it. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I mean even like the way that they the phrasing of the lead parts like are specifically made to take advantage of sonically how that type of patch, like that type of sound works, which I think
Yeah.
is super cool. But on top of that as well, it's also just like you said, a very punchy kind of feels like a turn of the millennium like rock punk adjacent type of sound. Like it feels of that era a lot, which I think is really cool as well.
Yeah, I think like someone else I heard describe them as like they belong on like a early 2000s like movie soundtrack. Like almost like an American Pie, but maybe not quite an American Pie, but like something in that vein. Like you could hear them on.
It's something
But,
of that era for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Mike's just got like a great like 90s type voice.
Yeah, there's something about the syllables. He's got that like SoCal pop punk like accent to it almost.
Yeah, it's funny actually. Like they end up playing with pop punk bands like a lot of times, even though they're not really a pop punk band. Like but they kind of like get in that mix.
They have that aesthetic
it's kind of
a little bit.
they
Yeah.
have right, like so they can get away with it. But like there was a pop punk show I went to with them back in I don't want to say it was like May maybe, and there was like a few bands like All Systems Go was one of them, if you've ever heard of them.
That sounds
but it was
familiar.
It was a great show. But like Bees, like they kind of stuck out like a sore thumb at the show in a great way, like in an awesome way. Like we made a meme about like that meme with like the soldiers crouched behind a wall and there's like a clown behind them.
Oh yeah,
it was
yeah.
the pop punk bill, and then like I put Bees on the clown behind them. So it was like, you know what I mean? Like, cause they're in the party, but they're like, do they belong in this party? Yeah, it was cool though. Yeah. But I love those guys so much. Their drummer's incredible. They're all incredible musicians, and they always put on a great show.
That's one of the things that I kind of love about like independent like shows and stuff like that, though, is that you can have the bands that are kind of like a little bit of an oddball, but they end up standing out in a really good way. Like it doesn't feel like, oh, this band doesn't make sense. It's often like, oh, this is a really cool thing that kind of like changes up the pace a little bit,
Yeah, I kind of want to put a show together like that next year, like where like there's like one or two bands, maybe like two pop punk bands and like a couple bands that like aren't quite pop punk that like stand out.
Yeah.
In between the, I think it might be a cool mix. Like, there's some bands that are like more theatrical in the area. I would like to get them on shows, like just mix it up. I think it's always fun to mix it up.
Here in Detroit, it's really interesting too. Like the scenes that we've got, you can get kind of like there's a few ska bands around. They're really cool, but then there's also like as far as the rock scene goes, there's a huge hardcore scene. They're not really in the same scene as like everybody else. They're kind of like doing their own thing because that's kind of how hardcore works. They're more like in with the metal bands and stuff like that. But like I've seen a bill before that it was like an emo pop band almost. And then after that was like a grindcore band, and
Oh, wow.
and then like a doom metal band. So like the exact opposites of the spectrum of like we play like 200 BPM plus only, or like we only play like 90 BPM or less, which was really
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
well as like a really big scene of like blues rock and stuff like that too. So you could definitely put together a show like that around here too. That's really like, you know, spread out and like draws a unique and interesting crowd.
Yeah, keep people on their toes, I say. Like the show I played last night with Naive Nature, which I would say were like, you know, like I would almost say we're like grungy emo kind of in a
Okay.
weird way. Like if you listen to us, you know, it was us, and then it was Fat Eddie Korngor, which his solo music is like, I would say like pop rock kind of,
Really poppy, yeah.
pop rock, pop punk, like, you know, but yeah, really polished, which I love. You know, like it's totally my wheelhouse. And then the band that played in the middle of us was like a bluesy rock band. It was a really cool mix. I liked it.
That's actually a really good transition into this next band that I'm gonna play, who are kind of like a blues rock band that I just discovered. So I'm actually originally from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, way up north on the border of Canada, basically. And I went to school at Michigan Tech, which is far west out in Houghton, Michigan. And so the entire Upper Peninsula of Michigan, the area code is 906. And people really wear the 906 as like a badge of honor. But anyway, so a couple months ago, September 6th, it was 906 Day. And so I decided to like go and make a playlist of a bunch of bands from that area that were active and like doing cool stuff, just as, you know, a fun little thing. And I discovered this newer band from my college town of Houghton, Michigan, that they have just released in August their first EP. This band is called Willoughby, and they're kind of like a blues rock band. This is probably my favorite song of theirs off of that EP. It's called Frost.
Decide to fly south. Would you go with them, my dear, my dear? Or would you stay with me and freeze? Soon the ice will freeze over the lake. Its glassy shell may keep me safe. When my love has gone away, but the fire it never fades. Oh, why would I ever decide
Nice.
Yeah, right.
Soulful.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
One of the things that I find really interesting is how like different locations really do almost have like a sonic footprint to them. And
Sure. Yeah.
it's really interesting, specifically in college towns to me, that has such staying power, because to me this reminds me of a lot of bands that were active around the time that I was going to college, like 4 or 5 years ago, and they probably wouldn't have really like even seen most of those bands. They probably would have graduated and either broken up or moved to a different area at that point. It's really interesting to hear the sonic footprint and the similarities despite probably never having crossed over at all.
Yeah, it's almost like the sound just lives on, in that town, and it's, part of the DNA of living. That's really cool. That's a cool concept. Yeah.
Like if you're ever interested in hearing kind of a similar type of sound, there was a band called Ben and the Bamboozlers, and they released just a single EP back in 2020, like very early days of the COVID pandemic. I think they'd recorded it before and then finally dropped it. But I hear a lot of similarities between those two projects with the kind of like psychedelic and like very bluesy types of sounds.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, like, I guess, there's just certain parts of a town that can influence your outlook on life, and like maybe it can subconsciously influence your sound too. The creativity, that's cool.
Yeah. But I mean, even on top of that, like just the bass line of this is so soulful and groovy. Like it's really holding it down. And then you get like the like elongated kind of like instrumental jam section too, which is super fun.
It was great. You could tell the band was like real locked in too. They were grooving.
I have to imagine, because I don't really have any like insight into how this was recorded, but like just hearing it, I have to imagine that this was like a live off the floor recording. Just
That's
with
how
like
too.
locked in everybody is, and like especially like the jam part. Like I feel like you don't get that type of like jam section in a song if you're playing it like if you're like recording it track by track to a click.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I think I said that without even thinking about it. Like I was almost picturing it was a live, direct recording like that. Because it just didn't feel like okay, you put this part down, and then it just feels like it had to be done that way. Maybe it wasn't, but it feels like it was in a good way.
Mm-hmm. And knowing the facilities and everything too, I can almost guarantee I know like where this was recorded. And like it's very interesting just visualizing all of that. But
that's cool.
Yeah, there's always been a very interesting, small but like strong music scene in that area of just kids who are going to college and start bands, which I think is always some really fun stuff, because when you're kind of that age and you're young, you've got like some interesting things that you want to some new ideas and things that you want to try out. So I always really like that.
Yeah, totally. And like yeah, I think there's something special about like those little college towns. Like in Philly, we have this little neighborhood called Manayunk that's like a big college town. And like some of the best venues were there. Like there was this venue called the Grape Room that was like, it was easily like my favorite venue to go to, like since I got back into the music scene. Like the shows were always like, had a really great atmosphere. There was usually like a really good turnout. Like people would just show up for music. They didn't even know the bands. Like it just had a natural pull, and it was like a really cool atmosphere. And it was the same deal. It was like a college town type venue. But yeah, there's something special about that.
Yeah, I just think that whole thing is really, really cool. I'm interested in seeing if they end up putting anything else out. Like I said, this is their first EP, but it is really solid. I would be very interested in hearing some more stuff.
Yeah, for sure. That was great.
So what do we have up next?
So next I'll go with the band Log Flume, the song DB Cooper. So I discovered this band, I want to say about a year ago now. I think it was like there was a big Philly power pop show that was being put together. Actually, I think it was at that venue I just discussed called the Grape Room. And this band was on the bill, and I decided to just check them out and just see what they sound like, and I like kind of fell in love with them, and I kind of like, I started fangirling over them and like being like, oh my God, you guys are awesome. Like, I would love to play a show with you guys. And then the singer like listened to Scoopski, and he was telling me his favorite Scoopski songs, and we're like, geeking out over each other. I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. So I eventually got to see them play live first back in June, and then like, met the band and all. And they were putting together their album release show for the album that this is from. It's called Splash Hit. Splash Hit Log Flume.
Nice.
I love that though.
I always like when bands have a theme.
Yeah, me too.
In that way, yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So yeah, he actually he asked Scoopski to be on the bill. It was a fun night. I mean, it was fun night. It was easily our worst show. It was one of those our worst show. It was there was just a lot of factors going on. A lot of like personal problems. My wife was just getting over having strep throat, so there was that. A lot of anxiety issues going on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it came through in our performance, and it was not our best show. And I apologized to him afterwards, because I think the whole crowd could feel like the negativity feeding off me, unfortunately. But it got better after that. But yeah, they put on a great show that night, and I love this song, and I love this whole album by Log Flume. So.
All right. Short and sweet, that one, for sure.
Yeah, Punky Blast of Energy. Yeah, they have a lot of like shorter songs. That's probably like the punkiest song I want to say on their album. So like a lot of their songs are like, I don't want to say slower, but like they're not as like fast as that one. But like, yeah, they just kind of like, get right to the point. A lot of their songs are under 2 minutes, and they just kind of like, they don't waste your time with like a long drawn out bridge or anything like that.
Yeah.
They just kind of, they get right to the point. So
that's something that I've always kind of had a bit of trouble with, is like trying to condense songs down into like a very short time frame like that, where they still feel like a full song, but like they, don't overstay their welcome as well, which I think is an art in and of itself, being able to write short, snappy little songs like that still feel like a full song.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're great at that. I struggle with that as well. Like, I'm always, it's hard for me to write songs like under 3 minutes, even like, just wrote a new one actually that's like 2 minutes and 5 seconds, so I'm pretty proud of that. Like, there was actually a compilation that came out a couple years ago. Actually, it's on our album. The song, it's called 30 Seconds. It's literally a 30-second long song, but it was originally for a compilation, and the goal was you had to write a song in 30 seconds, and that was what we cooked up. So I was always pretty proud of that one, that we were able to get the point across with that. But it's definitely an art form. Yeah, it's hard to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I always think, personally, one of my go-to examples for that is I Fell in Love with a Girl by the White Stripes.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
that song I think is just shy of 2 minutes, maybe it's even shorter. Let's see.
Yeah.
Minute 50. So yeah, just
Oh,
shy
wow.
of 2 minutes. But I mean, it's got like 3 verses, 3 choruses, and a bridge, and is somehow still like less than 2 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's also
They do
like
it.
hella punky and really, really fast. But like,
Yeah.
I always think that those songs are really fun. Just like the type of stuff that, you know, you can get everything condensed really short.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
On top of that, this song, I really like the synth sound that they have for it. It's kind of like a classic
Yeah.
sound almost. The like
Yeah. Yeah. They have a lot of that peppered throughout their album. It's really cool. Like a lot of little touches here and there. They sound like garagey, but like also like pretty and poppy at the same time. They managed to like walk a really fine line. It's cool.
Yeah, I really like that sound a lot.
Great
Okay,
band.
so moving on to my final song of the evening. This song just came out today.
Ooh.
Yeah,
There
it's
you go.
very fresh find. It's by my friends in the band 10 Month Summer, who you have probably heard of. They are from Chicago, and they put out their first few singles near the beginning of this year, and then put out a live album before they even put out their first EP or album or anything like that. I got to see them over the summer. They came through Detroit, and I actually picked up their like demo tape. Got it right here. And that was, for the longest time, the only place that you could hear this song. But this is the first song off of their brand new EP, which is called Fate Lines. This song is called TM36, like from Pokemon.
Felt I was lost for a lifetime. Where would I go without you? Swear to God, you're my lifeline. My future spins around you. Know that I walked into awkward and stumbling, 'cause it's never been this good. Never believed I would know that I walked into awkward and stumbling, 'cause it's never been this good. Never believed I would have a love that could be this good. Trace your palms for your fate lines. Mine don't exist without you. I swear to God, you're my last ride. Always spinning around you. Know that I walked into awkward and stumbling, 'cause it's never been this good. Never believed I would know that I walked into awkward and stumbling, 'cause it's never been this good. Never believed I would have a love that could be this good. No, I never believed I would have a love that could be this good.
Yeah, I almost got like almost like a Circa Survive kind of feel to that. Like
Okay. Yeah.
something in like the mid 2000s like post-hardcore-ish kind of kind of feel. That was really cool.
It's really interesting because when you listen to their music, they have songs that kind of like hit on a bunch of different styles. They've got more of like the like more emo straight up type of songs, but like they've talked about, you know, the possibility of like even writing like a hardcore song or something like that, really not wanting to tie themselves down to just one sound, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. The guitar work was like amazing. Yeah, like that kind of like effect on the guitar is like that's something I don't really like play around with too much, but like different kinds of delay and all that, but I always appreciate when bands can like pull that off well.
Yeah, if you can do that dotted eighth note delay really well,
because
the thing is you have to be able to really lock in with it, or else it sounds real sloppy. But if you can lock in with it, it sounds really cool. It makes that really cool effect. I also just love how the song builds. It starts out with that, and then like the chorus, like the drums just start hitting really hard. The guitars get really heavy. Like just the build in that is really incredible.
Yeah, it was great. And like you said, like if you can't pull that off well, like it's not going to sound good. So like I've always appreciated bands that can pull that off.
Mm-hmm. I think another thing that it took me a little while to realize, but their bassist is also really incredible. I didn't realize until I saw them live when they came through Detroit, kind of the middle of the summer, I think it was. But I didn't realize how much their bass playing really created such a foundation for the rest of this until I saw them live, and I was like, oh man, they're really pulling some weight with this.
That's awesome. Yeah, like when a good bass player can like, just really stand out and like, carve their own, sound in the
because they're doing a lot more than just the root notes. They're outlining like the whole chord basically with what they're playing, which allows the guitarists to do a lot more interesting like melodic type stuff because they don't have to be outlining the harmony as much. They can do a lot more of the melody, which is just
and I feel like
big brain arranging type stuff,
Yeah, and I feel like for like this kind of sound you're going for, you need a bassist who can really like know the way around the neck to allow the guitarist to tap into those other avenues. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Again, this EP just came out today. This is their first full project after 3 singles and then a live album, which kind of half counts, doesn't, however you want to say that.
Right.
But it was really interesting because between the live album and that demo tape that I bought from them when I saw them live, I had heard even the unreleased songs before, but it was really cool hearing like the fully produced full versions of the songs. I thought that was really cool.
Nice. Yeah, it was cool.
So how are we gonna finish this episode off? What's gonna be our last tune?
So I'm gonna take you to the Drama Club.
All right, okay.
So this song is by a band that became a favorite of mine this year. They're called the Blackburns. I believe they were, I don't know the full story, but I believe they were in like some older Philly bands, maybe in like the 2000s, some like Philly indie bands. And I think they almost became like kind of like a super group type of deal.
Interesting.
Like couple, I think that's their story, something along those lines. But I've caught them live a couple times, and just really great songwriting. It's not really like I'm throwing in like a curveball or anything. It's just kind of another great power pop song. But this is like, it just feels like something I would like be all about, like when I was in college, like that, like just that kind of songwriting. Like it almost reminds me of like a Jimmy Eat World kind of song.
All right,
but
yeah.
It's
I'm
called
into that.
Drama Club by the Blackburns.
Let's go.
There's something about the drama club. There's something about the drama club. You're not friends unless you draw a little blood. There's just something about the drama club. Any idiot can play the guitar, and almost any psychopath can pass the bar, and any two dummies can fall in love. But not just anyone can hack it in the drama club. First rule of drama club, forgive but don't forget. The second rule is something we have not decided yet, and it's okay to break, but you can never ever bend. Third rule of drama club, the drama never ends. something about the drama club. You're not friends unless you draw a little blood. There's just something about the drama club. Your invitation to the drama club. It's soft and it's vague, but it's sharp. The moonlight reflects on its surface and edge. It'll burn your fingerprints off. The origins of drama club are anybody's guess. The air smells like organs and clone cigarettes. Soon you'll cease to notice the way it makes you ill. You can leave whenever you want, but you probably never will. It's not so, it's not so, it's not so, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. It's not so, it's not so, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. There's something about the drama club. There's something about the drama club. You're not friends unless you draw a little blood. There's just something about the drama club. There's something about the drama club. There's something about the drama club. You're not friends unless you draw a little blood. There's just something about the drama club.
So catchy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
you know, so catchy and cute. Just love it.
One of the things that I really like about the way that this is arranged is how the little lead guitar part that plays before the rest of the band comes in, and then also there at the end before the final chorus, is I really like how that guitar part kind of outlines the chord structure of the next part. And
Yeah.
but it also acts as its own thing. Like sometimes I don't know how you approach like this type of stuff, but to me, like I will, write some of these auxiliary little like lead guitar parts for like a chorus or something like that kind of outlines the chords of it. But the fact that it also stands on its own and sounds cool as opposed to just like, oh, it's like an arpeggio or something like that. Like it's fun
Right.
in like the way that it warbles a little bit too. I don't know if that's like a modulation effect or something like that, but like just that little bit does a lot of heavy lifting in this arrangement.
Sure, definitely. Like that's the kind of guitar parts that like, you gotta, keep in there is like when they just have that extra little something special to them.
Yeah. I also there's something about the drama club.
There's something about the drama club for sure.
But the lyrics of this song are really fun. Like there something about the like there's a campiness almost about it that like again, like you were talking about, almost reminds you of like American Pie or like one of those like early 2000s kind of like high school drama comedy type of movies that like
Yeah.
nowadays is like a little bit played out, but like it's still like a fun
Right.
tropey campy type of thing, like especially for power pop punk like type of sound.
Yeah, I love the lyrics too. Like what's the lyric? It's like any two idiots can. What's it like? Any two idiots can fall in love, and almost any psychopath can pass the bar, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just some funny lines in there.
I really like when people write lyrics and kind of like don't take it too seriously in that way.
Right.
Like there's again the campiness and just like adding some humor to it. Again, kind of reminds me of like the type of stuff that you do as well, like where there's the humor of it that even if you're taking on like a heavier subject can kind of like help soften the blow and make it just a more fun, enjoyable listen.
Yeah, it's funny. Like this band, like when I was watching them play, and they had like almost the same exact setup as us. Like they had female keyboard player in the middle. They had the same lineup as we did. Like two guitars, bass, drums, and keyboard. And like I was looking at them like almost like they were like our elders or something like that. It was kind of cool. Like
your doppelgangers almost.
Yeah, like our older doppelgangers. But I really like them a lot and like respect them a lot. Would love to. Hopefully, I can play a show with them sometime in next year because they're like definitely on my bucket list. But
what did you say were some of the other bands that their members had been involved in?
Geez, I want to say one was called like Wax Wave or something like that, and I don't remember what the other one was.
Okay.
I wonder if I could even like a quick Google search could find like
That's what I was thinking, if I could find it on like maybe Bandcamp or something like that.
that's what I'm wondering. Let me see. Okay. Plow. Okay. The one guy was in a band called Plow United, and another guy was in a band called Wax Wave and the Danger O's. I know those
Okay.
were I've heard those names in like the Philly area. So I think that was kind of like the marriage of the, different projects. So
That's the other thing about just getting into a local scene is the number of times that you see different people pop up, even if it's not like, oh, they play in like 5 bands right now. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
this was their old band and now they're playing in a new band and then now they're starting a new band. It's kind of like, watching that progression and seeing how they take these different things. Like sometimes it'll be completely different, and then other times it's like, oh, this is almost just like your last band, but it's just better. You've
Right,
learned
right.
a little bit more about it or whatever.
yeah, it's just funny the way things evolve and, change and turn about.
For sure. Now that we're kind of getting to the end of the episode, is there anything else that you want to say one more time before we sign off about Scoopski, about the new project, about anything else before we sign off?
No, just thanks so much for having me on. I'm a fan of the show. I've listened to various episodes before, and I just like the format of it. It's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
So I appreciate it. Appreciate you taking this time on a Friday night, talk to me, and it's just you check out our album "Time Is a Thief." It's out now on all streaming services. If you're probably hearing this after Christmas, so our last Christmas cover is a little dated now, but if you're still in the Christmas mood, we have a cover of Last Christmas out you can listen to. The new year, like I said at one point in the episode, I'm not sure what the new year is going to look like for us. Well, there will be Scoopski recordings in 2025. You don't have to worry about that. As far as catching us live, I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I will be out there playing live for sure. It's in some capacity. I'm not sure if it'll be under Scoopski or not. That's kind of up in the air right now, but regardless, Scoopski's not going anywhere, and I'm not going anywhere from stages. So that's all I can say at the moment. But otherwise, just thank you for having me on, and this is a blast.
All right, this has been the Fresh Finds Podcast, the show about discovering new music with good people.